Now, with the corpse grinder, let's talk a little bit about the props and the practical effects, and because that movie did a lot, and for promoting purposes, everything that you did from making that movie, making the cat food out of corpses, you know, I mean, that's great. And then the cats get the taste of humans, and yeah, I mean, all that is just incredible. Where did that come from?
Well, Arch Hall had created a number of screenplays, and he brought in 2 or 3 to me, and I liked the one. It wasn't called Corpse Grinders. That was a name that I bestowed upon it later. But when people would come into my offices, like I say, unexpected most of the time, without having made an appointment, they'd come in and I'd talk with them. And if they would hand me a screenplay that they thought maybe I could make it into a movie, I would speed read and I'd go, choo, choo, choo. Many times I start at the back and see how long it is, and then I'd go to the front, and speed read. Well, on this one, I would turn the page, turn the page, turn the page, turn the page. I said, how much do you want for the script? And he told me $1,800. I said, well, I don't have $1,800, but let's go across the street to my bank. Went over there. It was Bank of America, I believe.
Okay.
Right at Paramount's door, right next to the gate, and across the street from my office. So I borrowed the money from the banker. He said, sign here, you got a recourse deal here. And paid out the $1,800 bills to Arch Hall. And then from then on, it was a matter, it was called, I think, Cat in the Cannery. But it was grinding up cats or cadavers or whatever it was. And I said, how am I ever going to shoot in a cannery? You know, and so on. So I thought, well, we just set it aside. I liked the concept. It was unusual. So then I had a number of people reading it, and somebody said, well, we could do this, or we could make it a little funny, so on. And then I put my thinking to it and so on. And we ended up, we couldn't go, I even scouted some, what I thought were food canneries, and didn't find any place where we could get in and shoot. So I went to my friend who had, I think they called them Hollywood Stages on Santa Monica. And I said, I haven't any money, but I want to come in and shoot. And he trusted me. He said, well, you know, nobody's ever paid me on a deferment yet, but, you know, I like you. I'll let you go in and shoot. Then so we shot there. And Gary Heacock was the one who had made, in the original Astro Zombies, he made the the big plastic bottles that I called the blood exchangers to the green stuff. And he was very talented, and he's been in touch ever since. So I called him on corpse grinder, so he made the thing that the bodies rolled down. He made the corpse grinding machine itself with bicycle parts and a flashing lights. So, but it was plywood, not like cardboard, like some people have said. But the cardboard ones were made by theater people, managers, because I had put on a contest, $300 for the theater manager that made the best corpse grinding machine. And some of them put them together with anything, but some of those were, you know, exploited and explored and were given photos and so on. So that's where that concept came from. But our original corpse grinding machine was great. It had lawnmower wheels in it and so on like that. And then there were three film distributors after Girl and Go Boots and the Astro Zombies and so on. They each came up with, it took me, I think it was 8 months before I got the money out of them, $2,500. And I had so many meetings. I got so disgusted with them after meeting after meeting after meeting. I have a big family, 6 kids, you know. And I said, you guys, this is sad, but this is the very last time. If I don't get the money in my bank account by morning, I won't be discussing this again with you. And I said, I spend more than that on toilet paper at my house. And that's exactly what I said. So anyway, I left. The next morning they called me, you got the money. I had to take that firm stand to it. But anyway, Gary did a lot of the effects, and then again, right now, Gary is making effects. The people that once work on my movies never forget. They always want to be in on the next one. Everyone wants to be in on the next one because I make it fun. I make my shoots very short. Not so many years ago when I had crews of 30 and 40 people, you know, not that you take forever to shoot a scene that you should do in a half hour because too many big tails wagging the dog, you know. So anyway, the people all want to be part. So ran into Gary at a show, he was here for a convention, something totally unrelated to the film industry. I want to be a part of your next movie, Ted. What can I do? Can I make props? Can I? I'll even drive up here from Portland, Oregon, just to be in it. And so anyway, he's making some of the props on the new machine. Then I've got dear friends in Daytona Beach that they're on board now with me as co-productifiers, as I call them, associate producers, and young Gary and his father are both teachers. They have a company called Blue Heron Films. He's got some awards. He made a beautiful poster for the Astro Zombie M3 cloned, got an award for that. But then the one we ended up with was another one. The artwork was done by Andrew Shepard, and I think he's in Ireland or somewhere over in there. Anyway, now I'm asking him to do the basic art for Astro Zombies M4. Yeah, Invaders from Cyberspace, so we've got a new concept. But in any event, Gary is already working on the monitors where the Astro Zombies come out. One's going to come out and kill Drew. An Astro Zombie known as Chris DeFranco.
Right. That's right. It's going to be a big deal for us. It's going to be a big deal for us. So let me ask you, what are your sets like? How do you run your sets?
Well, I have set rules. I used to expound upon them. There'd be no voices on this set louder than mine. And at that time, I'm talking like this. I don't want any voices on my set louder than mine. In other words, I don't want anybody to be yelling, quiet!
Right.
No. I say quiet just before I'm ready to shoot. That means that people that hear quiet from 5 different sources that are ignored all the time, then when we really need them to be quiet, they don't believe it anymore.
Right.
You know, it's like the wolf, the boy that cried wolf. So I said, I alone say quiet. No production manager. I alone say roll sound. I alone, give those things. So everyone pays attention. And so my sets, I put together, sometimes I go a little overboard, like on Corpse Grinders 2, sticking bones everywhere and bloody bones on the ground. I do get a little carried away. But to me, it's all joking. It's fun. It's fun. And when anyone wants to take something like Astro Zombies seriously, I keep thinking, seriously, they're not thinking right. This is meant to be fun, meant to be laughed at, meant to be joked about. But in any event, and as far as carrying on my set, sometimes we have to build sets and build props with nothing. I'm a great dumpster diver. I've had to do a lot of that.
Right.
But I really dislike parting with anything after any movie. Now, I still have people asking for the original Astro Zombie masks, of which there were only 2.
I asked you a couple days ago, I asked you if you still had any.
Long ago.
Yeah.
Now, on M3 Cloned and Mark of the Astro Zombies, I had on Mark, I had a young fellow in the studio there, Mac, and Mac was living there for 4 or 5 years. And so the guy in New Mexico that was making my heads, he had the green heads and so on, but I didn't like the green, so Mac gave them all a bone look. He was a true artist, gave them bone lines and all. And when we put it all together, I built a set out of anything I could find. The sets from Astro Zombie M3 Cloned were made of plywood that I had stuck in my garage, hoping that I could build my little hideaway and my edit bay and all that in my garage, big double garage. So we dragged all those to the studio, and then in the making of, I think we show them putting up the walls, plywood, and painting the walls and hanging anything. And I even hung things in M3 Cloned that were left over from Mark of the Astro Zombies, the things on the wall and so on. But I say I hate to junk some of that stuff, but how do you keep it all?
Right.
And even last night, I got an email. I get about 1,000 emails a week, and I try to answer them all, the ones that aren't spam,
Right, right.
And so in any event, this person asked me, I guess for his 2 kids, he wants to make it a Corpse Grinder Christmas. And so what do I have left from Corpse Grinders? He did fortunately mention Corpse Grinders 2. So I've got a bloody arm, a bloody leg, a bloody hand. I don't have any more bloody aprons. I've got little jars of cadaver food that came out of the grinding machines.
That's funny.
I've got 1 or 2 of the teeth left from the grinding machine, and I don't know if you've seen that part where it shows me making them and gluing them on the wheels. But anyway, I've got a few of those teeth. I don't really have much of anything else On Corpse Grinders 2, digging through everything trying to find some Corpse Grinder parts, I found these ears, these fuzzy ears that Mac had put together. They look like fur, and then they have a headband with little plastic jewels on them and so on. So I emailed him last night, and of course for Christmas, if he doesn't do a PayPal order tomorrow or something, I won't be able to get them to
The
him.
Corpse Grinder Christmas.
Yeah,
You can't beat that.
That's what he wanted to do, have a
See?
Corpse Grinder Christmas.
That's a good dad.
Yeah, and then he said the next one they want to do is an Astro Zombie Christmas.
Well, again, that's a good dad. That's a good deal.
Yeah, it
Astro
is.
Zombie Christmas, the Corpse Grinder Christmas. You can't beat that. Well, let's
my.
talk about your crew because, from Bend, Oregon to Hollywood, now in Las Vegas, your crew really comes to work with you, to be with you.
Yeah, there's a big difference though when you're working without money. Without financing, you've got to find people who can give you their time, even though they have all of their bills to pay, their rent, their food, their gasoline, and there's no reimbursements. On one of my movies, Mission Kill Fest, I had borrowed a large sum of money. So I gave people gas money, we had nice food, I paid everybody. I think my minimum salary at that time would be good right now, because I think the least expensive guy I had on my crew was a runner at $550 a week, just for a runner, So my people were paid pretty well. My lady, my dear, dear sweetheart, Shanti, Dr. Wendy, Altamira, Shanti is a big help to me because with her brilliance and her 4 doctorates, she thinks ahead, And so she helps me in a lot of ways to think through these things about what I could use for a set, where I could shoot, and that's why when we came in here, I want to shoot in here for Astro Zombie M4. My eyes are always tuned to finding places, and like Shanti says, Ted doesn't see what other people sees. He sees movie frames at 24 frames a second everywhere he looks. Yeah, that's true. Everywhere I look at the composition. This couldn't work here because that's a big black hole right there. It can't work. The hot light here couldn't, so everything I look at, I'm looking at composition. But what was that famous still photographer that did all the woods and the trees?
Was it Ansel Adams?
Ansel Adams.
Ansel Adams?
Okay, I got an award from him on composition.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and I still have a picture of it. I had acquired from the county, and I should have stayed in doing things like this. I'd have been a rich man instead of a pauper. But anyway, I had a ranch, a 120-acre ranch, just 3 miles from the heart of Bend. Right now is a blossoming vacation area. And I acquired them from the county for back taxes, which was pennies at the time. I think it was $3,200 for a 120-acre ranch. But I built a cabin on it, myself, with Grandpa's help, putting in the timbers and so on. And I ended up shooting a vision, because there were 7 snow-capped peaks from the cabin in the middle of this on paved road and all. And so Ansel Adams was a guest at our photography group at that time in Bend, and mine was selected. I had 2 or 3 that were color things. I used to take still cameras in order to become totally familiar. This is before I shot Strike Me Deadly, and actually some thereafter too. I'd go into the forest up around Mount Bachelor, Mount Baldy, Broken Top Crater up in Bend, Oregon, and I'd sometimes maybe hike for 6 hours and never see what I considered a perfect composition. But then I would shoot. So I spent like 5 days at one time just camping in my camper and so on, just shooting, hiking through. Of course, now with my back, I used to hike 20 miles in a day and think nothing of it. Now I can't hike a mile. Anyway, so that's where I really did a lot of experimenting with filters. I used every sort of a filter on a still camera, and I think at that time it was either a Yashica Flex, and I didn't have a Nikon until many years later. But anyway, I had a lot of fun experimenting with filters. And then it had to be before Strike Me Deadly, because in Strike Me Deadly I tried everything to make night out of day, and it was snow. We shot a lot up in the snow, which we had a lot of problems. The actor dove off of a PO and broke his shoulder. We had to reshoot all the time,